we're all part of a team, right? When you grow, we grow. When we grow, you're growing as well. So we're super excited to be part of your life, and thank you for allowing us to, to invest or to share at least what we've learned so far. We did want to start by asking you, do you have a question about any of our topics? I know that our last conversation, we talked about real estate. We want to take a couple of minutes, maybe about 10 minutes, and, have you open up your mic and ask you any question that you might have. Any question, you're welcome to open up your mic, share your question with us.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
So this is about the last recording. When it comes to down payment assistance for first-time homeowners, how does that apply to the closing costs? Is there any assistance for that?
For the closing costs?
Yeah, because is that up to 5 to 6% of the purchase price as well?
The closing cost, it depends on which bank you go. So there's two things with closing costs. So when you're negotiating with the seller, you could ask them to pay a bigger portion of your closing costs. So it's not always an even split. It depends on how motivated the seller is to sell the property. So some sellers, I've heard stories that some sellers will pay all the closing costs because they're getting the price they want for the property and they just want to sell it. Some refuse to pay any of the closing costs because they've got a property that's hot and everybody wants it. They don't have to. But you could, even when we've bought properties, we negotiate how much of the closing costs we pay. I don't know of any specific programs that help you pay your closing costs. I know like the down payment program, the FHA down payment program is like 3% down. For first time home buyers. That's a federal program that's by the Department of Housing,
Yeah.
If you go to the HUD website of your state, you can see the opportunities that they might have on your state for first home buyers. For example, I learned that in South Carolina, they just opened up an opportunity where the government is actually subsidizing the closing costs, right?
Okay.
So just go to HUD on your state. And these are specific grants or specific support that the government is giving for first-time buyers. There's even some that are for second buyers. They will even, some, depending on what you're trying to apply for, they might even allow you to purchase like a duplex. So it's not only for a single family, it could also be for like a duplex, not so much triplex or fourplex, but definitely a duplex.
Yeah.
So what you'll do is that you go to HUD again, right? Which is a federal program. And then they will let you know which banks they are partnering with. So not all the banks partner with HUD. So then you go through HUD, they connect you with the bank, and then you will follow through with whatever, directions they'll give you.
Yeah,
But
so there's opportunities out there, like Deanna said, by state. There could be grants available for closing costs, even banks. Like I said, it goes back to negotiating. Some banks will have like special programs for things like that. You just have to shop around. You're really not stuck to like one bank or one title company. You could shop at things. I know when you start to buy a house, you think whatever the real estate agent tells you have to go this title company, this bank, and that's the way it is, but it's really not that way. the more you do it, the more power you realize that you actually have control over a lot of that. And think about this, when somebody's selling you a house, they're selling it because they want to make money and they want to sell it. So most of the time, a seller is going to be motivated to do whatever it takes to sell something. Just like if you want to sell a car, or you got something in your house that you want to sell, you'll do almost anything to sell that thing. You know, even if you have to take a disc, like a garage sale, you know, somebody asks you, you got a mark for $5. You're like, well, you take $2.50. Well, if it's been sitting in your house for, 10, 15 years and you know you want to get rid of it, you're going to take the $2.50. You might not like it, but you're going to do it. So, and houses are the exact same ways. They're just a bigger item that they've been sitting home for a longer time.
I believe they're sad. You want to feel?
That was a great question, Lucinda. Anyone else would like to jump in, ask any question about real estate, gold, silver?
Yeah, I have a this is my first meeting with you guys. Is there a way for me to catch the previous recordings?
Yes, so actually we are sending emails with all of the links. I mentioned if you could save our email address, because sometimes the emails will go to your spam folder. So it's admin@abetterlife.world. So for
Okay,
example,
great.
this recording will include it, but you'll have all of our different sessions. I think this is our 8th session already. So yes, Anthony, great
Oh,
question.
that's great.
Anyone else? If not, why don't we welcome Miss Grace Leffert. Grace Leffert is an outstanding young lady. She is super gifted in many, many things. When I say many, it is many things that she's gifted. One of her giftings is like she draws amazing, and she's actually so good at social media. And when we talk about social media, we're talking about TikTok, we're saying Instagram, Facebook, and other platforms as well. She also has knowledge about building websites, creating logos. She will be a person that you can tell, oh, this is what I'm thinking about. She can take a pen or a pencil and or her cell phone, right? And be like, is this what you're thinking? So we are honored to have Grace with us this evening. And she's actually going to share with all of us something that everyone has been asking. And we've all been talking about social media. How can I use social media for my business? How should I start? So we want to welcome Grace, because Grace has many of the answers to those questions. And I know that she's so well prepared. So if we could all use our digital applause, hand clap, or you can use your normal one. And let's welcome Grace. Grace, welcome.
Hi guys.
Hello, hello.
So can I just start? Can I share my screen?
Yes, yes, you can.
Should be ready, right?
Yeah. Let me know if it allows you or it doesn't allow you.
I think I'm good.
Okay. There you go.
Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. See if it's gonna load. Give it a second.
Loading. So I know that many of you, like we've been talking about diversification, right? You're not just using or trying to invest on gold, silver. You're also thinking about starting a business. So this is for all of us that are thinking about utilizing social media as part of our marketing strategies.
This is for us, this is one of those strategies that we're not great at. Like we need more time, we need to know it better. So we don't, and it might be like a lot of you guys, you don't spend a lot of time on it because there's so much to it. It's like, oh, it's just too much work. I don't want to make videos. I don't want to do this. But this is what's actually going to help everybody grow your business, whatever you're planning on doing. This is actually going to catapult everybody. So if we could learn from Grace and figure out ways we could partner with each other, we could actually really push our businesses a lot further than we can on our own.
Yes, and actually we don't have social media yet. So Miss Grace is gonna develop our social media for us because like Chad said, this is something that we're like, we'll just better find someone that is very qualified on this area, right? Grace, we can see your screen. Wonderful, like perfect.
It's all you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to start really quickly and just say that social media is a gift that we have in the society that we're in. I mean, you can pay for an extended version of it, but it is essentially free advertisement, and you get to go out onto a platform and interact with the people that you are trying to reach and get their opinions. And it is something that we have access to, that people that have worked in similar fields to us in the past, they have had absolutely no ability to do social media in the way that we are able to. And so it's just, I know that sometimes it's a lot and you look at it and there's so much to it, but I want you to think of it as another tool that you can reach more people with your skills. So okay, perfect. So let's start with your profile page. When you are creating your profile, you want to view your profile as the way a viewer would view your profile. So when somebody who has never come across your business before comes to your page, the first thing that they're going to look at is your profile picture. And if your if you have a really long name for your brand that's very specific, and that whole thing is in that little circle, it's not going, the people looking at your page, they're not going to be able to see exactly what they're looking at, and they might get a little confusing. So if you have a smaller logo or like a shape or something that's in your logo, or like the first letter or something that you could put just that in your profile picture, that would be more memorable. That would be better than putting the whole thing in there. And then you want your username to say exactly, like, you want it to be the name of your business, and you want your username to be the same across all platforms. That way, if somebody finds you on Instagram and they want to find your TikTok, or they want to find vice versa, or they want to find your YouTube or your Facebook or some other type of social media, you want them to be able to find it easily and not have to like look for it in all sorts of crazy ways. You also, when you're writing your bio, you want it to be as specific and concise as possible. You want it to be a smaller version of your vision. You want to explain what you do, but you don't want it to be too wordy. And then if you have a link to a website, or you have a business email, or you have or you want to link it to another account, you can put all of that in your bio, or you can put it in your website, and they can get to whatever you want them to directly from your bio. Really quickly, I want to talk about the color wheel and the importance of thinking about colors when you are picking your audience. If your target audience is people that live near you, like if you are specifically trying to reach people in your state or your country, then you have to consider the things that colors are associated with in that place. And so if you live in a place where a specific color combination goes with a specific holiday or a school or something like that, you want to be more cautious of using those colors, because people will assume that you are associated with that organization. And if you're not, you don't want it to be confusing. When you're looking at the color wheel is a really great way to decide how colors are going to look together. There are a lot of ways to break down the color wheel, so I'm going to go through a couple of them pretty quickly. You have primary colors, the red, yellow, and blue, and secondary colors, which is a primary color mixed with, or wait, two primary colors mixed together. That's orange, green, and purple. And then tertiary colors are a primary color and a secondary color mixed together. So like orange and red make coral, and so on and so forth. When you are creating color combinations, you want to think about the way that colors are going to look together. If you pick two colors that look a little weird together, there might be a reason for that. And so if you're looking at complementary colors, complementary colors are directly across from one another on the color wheel. So blue and orange, purple and yellow, and red and green. And so a lot of times you'll see those colors put together and they look really nice together naturally because they are the natural balance of one another. Analogous colors are the three colors right next to each other on the color wheel. So the color wheel that I have on the right side, there is light green, dark green, and then aquamarine-ish teal color. Those are analogous colors because they sit next to each other, and so they kind of create a more monochromatic, they flow through each other very nicely, and they blend together really nicely. And then tetradic color combinations are four colors that are across the color wheel from one another and then also next to each other. So you have an analogous color with a complement, analogous and a complement, and that it is a really cool color combination and you will get really cool results, but it is sometimes a little more challenging to balance. A couple color combinations, especially in the United States, especially in places with 4 distinct seasons. These are color combinations that when you look at them, they make you think of a specific season, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but you just want to kind of keep it in mind. Red and green is Christmas in the United States of America. When people see red and green, like fully saturated red and green next to one another, a lot of times they will assume that that is a Christmas product. The light pastel cool tones are associated with winter. Light just pastels in general, a mix of pastels is very spring. Dark colors, like dark, more saturated, darker colors in the warmer tones is associated with autumn. Number 5 is a very summer color combination. It's watermelon, it's strawberries, it's fruit. It feels very warm. It's associated with being outside. Number 6 is also very summery. Number 7 is kind of very party colors. If you want like high energy, those are very bright, fully saturated colors. And then number 8 is a traffic light. And if you put red, yellow, and green together, people that see traffic lights all the time, they will look at that and be like, that's a traffic light. And there's like, it doesn't matter which way you organize it, that is how that will be viewed. When you are looking at colors, when you're picking the colors for your Instagram, when you're picking the colors for your feed on whatever social media platform that you're using, you want to understand that the colors that you choose are going to be perceived by your viewers. So I'm going to go through these really quickly, but red colors are like high energy. They're very strong and they're associated with love. Orange is confidence and just being like successful and open and like you're putting yourself out there. Orange is a bold color and people recognize that when they look at it. Yellow is a very light color. It's associated with being cheerful. It's associated with joy and it just excitement and just being out there. Green is a very natural color. It feels fresh. It feels good. It feels like it's nice to look at. It looks clean. Blue is associated with trust. Like if you wear blue, people are more likely to trust you. Same thing with your social media. If you put lots of blue in it, people are going to want to be more open with you. Purple is royalty. It's luxury. It's something that is bolder and will be perceived as, oh, that's fancy. And people will look at it that way. A couple more colors. Pink is compassionate, it's light, it's airy. And a lot of times if you have a fully pink feed, people will assume that that is marketed towards women. It may not be, but that's just something to consider. Brown is earthy tones, it's worn, it's something that's lived in. It feels good and like approachable. Black is dramatic, but it's also sophistication. And so it's a good way to mix. It's a good color to mix into your other pieces because it helps balance. And then white is clean, simplicity, and honesty. It'll feel refreshing to look at it. It's not too much, but you don't want to use just white because that will be too much. When you are looking into planning your feed, when you've chosen your colors, you looked at the color wheel, you looked at colors that you enjoy to look at, the colors that you feel represent you as a business, as a person, you can then start deciding how you're going to plan your feed. If you want to stay within one color family, then you should, that's completely okay. It'll be one of the easier ways to go about it. You could pick pinks, which is like what I have in the first one, and I have 2 colors and I go back and forth between them. They create a checkered pattern. If you just pick 3 colors and you repeat that pattern, it'll create columns of color. If you have 4, you'll get diagonal lines. If you have 5 colors that you pick for your base of your posts, it will create kind of a staggered pattern. And there's not, like, the pattern is longer, so it's a little harder to pick out, but it's nice to look at. Like, it looks good because it's all the same color. And then if you have 6 colors, they will be ombres going every other, and it'll look put together. And then another way to plan your feed is this would be with the things we talked about, the color wheel. If you picked complementary colors to use for your social media and just use those 2, it would create a checkered pattern. If you chose analogous colors, it would create an ombre going across the feed. If you had tetradic, it would go down in diagonal lines. 5, you could put 5, and then also for the pattern, you can pick a pattern to overlay over all of your posts. And then when people open and they go to your profile page, it'll look very aesthetically pleasing. But the one at the end, the furthest to the right, the one that's called pattern, that one is the most challenging to keep up with because you have to make sure they line up as you continue to go, and you'd have to post 3 posts at a time. If you are having a really hard time creating a color palette, then there are lots of websites, and I have a couple of them linked at the end of the slideshow, but a really good one that I've used is Adobe Color, and it'll let you pick like 1 color that you want or 2 colors that you want, and it'll show you colors that go with it, not like naturally balance one another. And then Color Hunt has pre-created color palettes that look good and that people are able to go on that website and they can vote on the ones they like. And so you can see what types of color palettes are favored by, like, what color palettes look good, and you can see them, how they're done.
Hey, Grace, real quick, I got a question before you move on.
Yeah.
So out of all those different kind of patterns and palettes and everything, what's the most popular for social media you see
Going
people
on.
looking for? Is there
I-
one that seems to be more popular than the rest of them?
So
You hit
Where?
something there. There you go.
I was here, right?
Yep.
Okay. So I think it kind of depends on what type of like what you're marketing, but I think that a lot of times people will use a neutral base, so like the base of their post, and I'll show an example of that in a few minutes, but they will use like a neutral, like what we're looking at right now, and then they'll pick their colors and they'll go down in like diagonal lines, is really common. And then the pattern one is really, the algorithm on Instagram especially very much so favors that type of Instagram right now where the pattern matches up across posts. And
Okay.
when you look at the posts by itself, you don't realize that it's a big pattern. But then when you go to their feed, you see that it's very artistically thought out.
Okay.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's cool.
Okay, so when neutrals is something that you kind of don't think about, and the light one is a little bit lighter than I don't know, it's kind of hard to see, but all of the neutrals have different undertones. And so you might be like, oh, I just need a neutral, I just want a gray. But some grays have pink tints to them. And if your Instagram is blues and greens and very cool, like earthy tones, you might not want to use a pink neutral, or you might want to use a pink neutral because that looks good with it. But you have to be like, you have to consider the types of neutrals that you're using, and you want to keep them consistent across all posts. And that goes with light neutrals and dark neutrals. I don't want anybody to like stress out and be like, oh, when I post on Instagram, I just post whatever I want. That's okay. If it's your personal Instagram, that is okay. So my personal Instagram, the one that's on the left, if you look, I did the color, like I blended up the color so you could see the way that it's mapped out. It's not in a pattern, but they're all in the same bluish gray color family. And then on the right side, I have a different Instagram that is just like my personal Instagram that I don't have anybody following it. I just post pictures for myself and things that are like memories that are important to me that I don't want to forget. I post all of them there, and there's absolutely no organization or pattern or anything like that on those. They just kind of are laid out sporadically. This is another example of how you can lay out your feed with pictures specifically. And so on the furthest one to the right, and then the one next to the one on the right, I have two little like blacked out posts that you can put like down the middle, or they could be on the outsides, however you chose to lay out your feed. Those would be like feed posts, like they could be carousels, and it could say something like for me, if I had a social media account and I was teaching people about how to use social media, I might have a feed post that's like, this is why you can't grow your Instagram. And then you could swipe through the posts, swipe through the pictures, and you could read about things that maybe you're struggling with in your Instagram and why you are having a hard time growing it. Instagram. Yeah.
No, that was really good.
Oh, okay. At Instagram has a feature called pinning posts, and I believe so does TikTok, that at the top of your feed, you have the ability to pin 3 posts to the top. And so if you have a video that's explaining the vision and the mission of your business, you can have that pinned at the top of your post, at the top of your feed. And maybe you have a video explaining who you are, or something else, that like things that you want people to be able to access easily and you don't want them to have to scroll for it. You can keep those pinned at the top of your account. You might want to consider having them be a completely neutral, like your neutral colors, or if you're going to have your same pattern consistent all the way down, then you could have them laid out with those cover photos as you go down. And then also on Instagram and TikTok, you are able to edit the cover photo, which is what you're looking at right now. That it kind of like, it's, if you like zoomed in on them, you would be able to see that the cover photos say what the video is about, or they say what the picture is about, and you would be able to look at it and know exactly what you were clicking on. That way people wouldn't continue scrolling, or like they would just give up looking for the video that they're looking for. Okay. The next thing is, I know that it can be really overwhelming when you are trying to start up a social media, and I don't want it to be overwhelming, and I'm going to share with you a statement that Instagram recently released about the types of accounts they're favoring, but it is a lot, and you don't have to start like that. And you can start small, and you can start small and then continue to work your way up. But Instagram has said that they are going to be favoring accounts that post to their feed posts every single day. So not reels, they're going to be favoring accounts that post like a carousel photo, a carousel post, or they post like a picture, just any kind of picture. Those will be favored and they will be shown on other people's For You pages. They also will be favoring accounts that post 6 stories every single day, which is a lot of stories, but you could have one story post be talking about your post that you're going to post later, and then you make the post, so you share the post, and then you have another story post talking about how that post helped. And you could have a story post about with like a swipe up thing where people can enter their questions in and you can respond to them. There's all sorts of ways that you can fill up your story, but it can be a lot. And so when you are working on creating your Instagram, there are lots of apps, and TikTok as well. There are lots of apps that let you plan and see how it's going to look and edit them without actually having to post them. And so you can backlog content if you're going on vacation, or if you know you're going to have a really busy week, you can create content ahead of time. That way you can post it. I have a couple that are on the screen. In preview is the grid that is pink and orange on the outside and white on the inside. Preview is the one that's multicolored grid. My feed is the pink squares, and then Planoli is the white one with the P in the middle. They all pretty much work the exact same. And then feed preview for Insta, I don't have that one linked, but that is like an editor's choice app store app. I have used in preview in my feed, and they all work really well. I haven't used Planoli, but I looked at it a little bit before I started working on this slideshow. But they all work pretty much the same. You can link them to your account. That way you can schedule times for them to post. And then you can look up, it's really easy. You can look up the best times that there are to post to your Instagram or to your TikTok. That way you'll get the most interactions, and you can schedule them on this app to post them for you. This is a big slide. I'm going to try to go through it quickly, but the different types, depending on what type of social media platform you're on, it'll depend how many seconds somebody has to watch the video in order for it to count as a view. And a view is how your video goes viral. If it gets lots and lots and lots of views, lots of people will see it. And if your goal isn't to go viral, that's okay, but you still want to consider that the amount of engagement you're getting will depend on what social media platform you're on. And so TikTok, the second the video starts playing on TikTok, the view is counted. So if I open TikTok on my phone and the video starts playing, that video got my view. But if I open Instagram and a video starts playing and I swipe past it, it does not get counted until I've watched it for 3 whole seconds. And so if you're making content for Instagram specifically, then you have to consider that you have to hook people. You have to let them see the video and be like, oh, what is this about? And let them take a couple extra seconds just trying to maybe read something or listen to what you're saying. Those things will help get you more views. If you have the ability to include closed captions on your video, I strongly encourage it. You're trying to reach the largest possible amount of people, and you don't want to lose the people that can't hear or are hard of hearing. You don't want to lose the people that don't have the volume on. Like if somebody is on the bus or they're sitting at school or something and they're scrolling Instagram or they're scrolling TikTok and your video comes up and it's something that they'd be super interested in, but they don't have their volume on, they will scroll past it if you don't have closed captions. Instagram and TikTok, and I believe YouTube Shorts now also has a feature that you just record your video and you click the button that puts closed captions on it, and it'll auto generate what you're saying, and it'll just go by the bottom of the video or the top corner. You can move it so it's not in the way of whatever you're talking, if you have visuals, but it'll auto generate exactly what you're saying. That way you will not, that way you don't have to sit there and type out every single thing that you said. People will just be able to it'll just be done for you. Hashtags. If you have used Instagram for a long time, you used to have to put so many hashtags on your posts. That way they would get interactions. Hashtags are not really like a super big thing anymore. People don't search for hashtags for what they're looking for. They just search for keywords. So when you are creating your post, you don't want to put a million hashtags. You want to put 3 to 5 hashtags, 5 the absolute most, that are super specific to what you are doing. And so if you have like, if I have a photography brand, then I might hashtag photography. Or if it's wedding photography, then that's even better. I can hashtag wedding photography. And then if somebody is looking for a wedding photographer and they're liking lots of videos that are hashtag wedding photographer, then my video is more likely to show up on their page than if I have hashtag a whole bunch of super random things that are not at all related. And then putting what it is about in the caption of the video or the post, that will also help it show up on people's accounts. And then I highly, highly, highly encourage watermarking your account, or marking all of your content. If you have any sort of content that you can, if you make anything, you need to put a stamp on it saying that it's yours, because there are accounts that are dedicated to taking other people's content and reposting it, and they don't give original users, original creators credit. And then people may see your video and be like, oh my goodness, I really need that. I need those resources. And they will never be able to find you if you don't have your content watermarked. Everything is content, okay? So when you are working on something for your brand, or you're working on something for your business, if you are taking pictures, you can set up your phone on a tripod and it can record you. Or if you're making clothing, you can record yourself working on that. Or if you are, your business is you teaching or you working, you can record anything. Anything and everything is content. But if you are filming for social media like YouTube Shorts, Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook Shorts, you want to record vertically. Don't record horizontally unless you are recording specifically for YouTube videos. If I had an Instagram and I posted a story that was about my crazy cat incident, and then I was like, oh, I'm out of time, come to part 2, and then you see my video and you're like, oh, I want to know what happens. So you click on my account and you're like, I can't find the video. I can't find part 2. And you look for like 5 seconds. That's usually about how long people will look before they give up. If they can't find that video, then they just stop looking. And so if you put Crazy Cat Story Part 1, Crazy Cat Story Part 2, Crazy Cat Story Part 3, people will find the videos easily and they will not keep scrolling and just give up looking. But you want to make sure that your information fits, like that your screen, your cover photo fits. You want to make sure that it's going to fit inside of the square when it gets cropped down to fit inside of your feed. And then when you are considering what types of trends you want to follow, you want to consider who your audience is going to be. If you are trying to reach the younger generations, you're going to have to keep up with the trends that the younger generation is interested in. But if you are maybe reaching out for a specific group of people that likes cars, or somebody that likes to read, you will have to consider the types of trends that they keep in mind, that they are considering, the things that they're looking at, the things that draw their attention. And so I'm going to give 2 examples. One is really broad and one is less broad. So if your audience is super invested in cars, then you need to, if that's who you're trying to reach, you need to keep up with what is trending in the car market. You need to keep up with the interiors that are popular and the exteriors, what colors are coming out, because that is the type of thing that those people will be looking for. But if you are maybe trying to reach the younger generation, this is a little more broad, because the younger generation isn't so much one specific topic. They like so many different things. you have, I strongly suggest that you consider looking at New York Fashion Week and Paris Fashion Week and London Fashion Week, because the things that are popular there will get worn by the celebrities that they look at, and the celebrities that they look at, they will want those things for themselves, and they will be looking for those things in every aspect, including social media. And so if they see something that's really structured and really bright colors, that's what they're going to start looking for in social media accounts. And then really quickly, just a few resources that I have, and I do have them in a Google Doc. And Diana, if you want me to share that with you, I can. I have all of it like typed out in a Google Doc, but there are lots of different places that if you only have handheld devices, if you have an iPad, a phone, that's all you have to create designs. Canva is an excellent resource. And I've recently heard about Studio Piloto, which I haven't looked at too much, but it's essentially a lot like Canva, except they don't have a pro feature. Adobe Illustrator is a lot like Canva, but it's for desktop design, and they have a little bit more ability to manipulate the text that you're working with. And then there's lots of just other things. There's lots of websites for if you're having a hard time finding color palettes. And then there's lots of accounts on Instagram and on TikTok that will teach you how to work the algorithm. But that is everything that I have.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Unless my mind's going 1,000 different directions, I'm like, because it does make a big difference. Like all these little things that I mean, when I think about posting on Instagram, I think about like taking a picture, putting a caption, and that's it. That's like my work for the day. I did a picture, I wrote something, I posted it. But you make such a great point, because there's so many things that drive the algorithms, whether we like it or not. I mean, these are the things that we have to do if we're going to be successfully reaching like people. So I'm so amazed by all this information. I'm like, wow, this is incredible.
Questions. Who would like to open up their mics and ask questions? Maybe you want to type your question. Go ahead, Dawn.
My question, Grace, first of all, that was excellent, girl. Excellent. I think, I mean, now it's another thing you're excellent at. Will it ever end? Okay, please don't. But my question is, when you're talking about these, the planning apps, you know, and even like the last things that you talked about, is there a charge for those apps?
So some apps have like a pro feature, and I have used, like I said, I've used MyFeed, and then for all of the posts that like I created, the orange and tan and green ones that I created for you to see the layouts, I used MyFeed, I'm pretty sure, and they all pretty much work the exact same, and you don't need the pro feature. They have like the benefit of like the pro feature is that you can like edit the pictures in there, and then you can like link it to multiple accounts. But like MyFeed, you can like link up to like 3 accounts for free, and so you can pay for them, but you do not need to. Like, it's really not necessary.
Okay, and I would just like to add that I had Grace do my logo for Glory Duds. It's really awesome.
I'm looking
She did a
forward to
great
seeing
job.
it done.
Yes.
I'm
yes.
looking forward.
That's our Gracie.
Yes.
Good job, Grace.
Who else has a question? Well, let me see. Marilucy, would you like to open up your mic and share your thought about building your brand in social media?
Yes. First of all, Grace, oh my God, amazing presentation. Loved it. I think that social media is giving us so many platforms in so many ways, and you can start with a small budget, even with no budget when you do it yourself. And that's why it's so important what Grace presented, because she gave us so many tools that we can start our own businesses without spending a lot of money. And what I mean about building a brand, I mean, before doing anything in social media, please consider planning and building your brand. Because everything that you share in social media is like a buildup on what you want to communicate. And I think the most important thing to stay focused and not go crazy with social media, because we all have done it, by the way, with small brands, with big brands, with huge marketing teams. Sometimes you go to a social media page and you say, what is that? Because it's so disorganized, or they have so many messages, and we cannot go overboard because it can be confusing for the target. But when you plan your brand, you can start creating your content strategy. And that is something that what Grace gave us are tools to start communicating after you build your brand, or at least you create your concept and you start making your content strategy. And a content strategy is nothing but making a calendar with the topics that you want to share with your target. For example, as Grace was mentioning, I think you use New York Fashion Week. Is that what you mentioned, Grace? For example, Dawn has a clothing line, for example, and suddenly she's following the events that are happening in the fashion industry. Well, it happens that something that is trendy in the New York Fashion Week, Dawn can go and capitalize and amplify that message with her brand using a topic that is relevant to her target. Another thing very important when I'm telling you about building a brand, when you build a brand, you have to decide which is your target. And all the platforms that Grace mentioned have a specific profile. For example, she mentioned TikTok. We know TikTok is for a very young target. If you have an older target, maybe you want to use Facebook and even Instagram. Plus, if you have, for example, a B2B, a business-to-business company, you have to consider LinkedIn, which might seem old, but for example, and I'm going to use again Dawn, if Dawn wants to sell to other stores, not only have a retail business for her, she can go and create a profile in LinkedIn so she can reach the people that are making businesses. So, this is we can spend like a year talking about this, because this is something that changes every single day. But when you have your brand and you have your target and you build your content strategy, and you don't have to have a very complicated, sophisticated content strategy. You can start by saying literally, what do I want to say on Mondays? What do I want to say on Tuesdays? What do I want to say on Wednesdays? And you can start building a calendar of what you want to share. Plus, another very important thing, you can build your content strategy consisting in what we call the evergreen content, which is like a generic content that you can share any day, because it's about your business and it's about things that you can be, talking all the time. But you can also build some real-time content. And that's an example of what I was mentioning and Grace mentioned about the New York Fashion Week. Real-time content is what's happening at the moment. It's not necessarily planned, but in a way you plan it because you are monitoring something that is relevant for your target. So, we can be talking about this like a year, and it's a never-ending story, because every single day, literally, the platforms changes or adjust their algorithms to make relevant, to make the platform relevant every single day and have their uniqueness. So I encourage every single one of you that want to launch a business to start experimenting. Don't be afraid. because that's the only way to start using social media, and you will see what works and you will see what doesn't work, and you know, it will be fun.
Thank you, Mary Lucy. Thank you so
course.
much. Grace, do you want to add anything else? Anyone has a question for Grace?
I actually want to add a little thing to what Mary Lucy was saying a second ago about what do you want to post every day of the week. You also can consider what people want to consume every day of the week. And so for most people, Friday is the end of the work week. And when they get home from work on Friday, a lot of people, they don't want to look at social media content that's teaching them something. They want something that's going to be fun. But maybe on Monday at the start of the week where people are, or Tuesday where people are like fresh into the work week, they're not tired of learning, or into the school week, they're not tired of learning. That could be when you post something educational. And so if you have content where you are teaching and you're putting resources out, maybe Monday you have an educational post, and then Tuesday you have kind of a response to that, and Wednesday maybe there's some sort of thing that you could have like in the middle of the week, and then your content can be related to the way that people perceive it throughout the week as well.
So good. We didn't know that when we put Diversify on a Tuesday, which is a knowledge, right? It's about learning at the beginning of the week. That's so good, Grace. I love when you were talking about colors, how important colors are, choosing the colors of your brand, right? Not just having 3 colors, you have the opportunities to create other supporting colors for your brand. And using social media, why not, right? We've had this conversation, it's like TikTok for us, but you would see how much content is out there for budgeting creation, talking about selling gold, buying gold. So it's just very interesting how really people are using social media, because I'm quite sure that all of us here are on social media at some point throughout the day, right? So anyone else has a question? I know we're almost to the end of our meeting. If not, Grace, thank you so much for preparing so well. This was like a master class.
This is a master
This was
class.
great, great, phenomenal. We would love for you, like we've been doing, share with us your presentation. We will put it on the link, and we will share it also on our emails, right? With the recording of this session and the tool that Grace created. That was so great, right? It's a masterclass, because I know it was a lot of information, so you might want to go back. What was she talking about? The colors and the colors of wheel. I'm planning my Instagram. I didn't know that was a thing, right? I'm like, planning Instagram. I didn't know we could plan Instagram. Dawn, you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to say too, with Mary Lucy, it's like you just took like Grace's presentation and you gave it the grand finale. So I thank you for that, because you put it all together so well between the two of you. I'm really blessed to have you both. That's really great.
Yes.
We are a team. We are a team.
Yes, we are a team. Amazing.
And this, for us, this is like, we're gonna utilize like Grace and Mary Lucy to help us with this, and feel free to reach out to them to help you with your kind of, because these are the things we're not good at, and I'm not gonna invest the time to like be a social media like guru, because there's other things, we have so many things in our mind, and like a lot of us, we all are creating our own things. So sometimes, like when you're starting a business, you want to do everything yourself. For one thing, we do it because we think we could do everything, because we have that mindset that we could do all things. For a second, sometimes we're like, well, we can't afford to have somebody else help us do things. But we have to kind of get past that mindset, because it'll actually hinder us from moving forward, because what'll happen is we'll just get stuck and we'll never go anywhere. So that's why we want to like share different things that all of you guys do with each other, because we have to like rely on each other to strengthen us where we're weak. Because that's where we grow, you know, the best managers, the best leaders will actually put people that are smarter and better than them underneath them. And that's the leaders that make them look the greatest, is because the people underneath of the team that they work with are actually doing all the work and actually providing all the expertise, and not, that's what they are. So we're so grateful for all of you guys that you provide so much knowledge and wisdom that help us grow, because we all want to grow. That's why we're doing this, because we want to grow alongside all of you guys.
Mhm. So thank you so much and have a good evening. And we will see you on last Tuesday of May. We love you.
Great. Thank you,
Good
guys.
evening,
Love
Thank
ya.
you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.